can go
Hello?
ahead and call the meeting to order.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I would like to turn the meeting over to the chair, Deputy Mayor Melanie Pilon.
Hello, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll take it from here. So we will call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and I'll note the members present, all councillors, Mayor Pat Tate on Zoom, and staff and all the members in the gallery. We'll start off with the Indigenous land acknowledgement. We will begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathering on the land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. We would like to recognize that we are in the Robinson Superior Treaty Territory, and the land on which we are gathered today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. Specifically, we acknowledge the neighboring community of Mishpahn First Nation, to whom we have great respect. We also recognize the contributions of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, in shaping and strengthening the community and the province of Ontario. We will now move on to item number 2, approval of the agenda.
Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that the agenda for the Committee of Adjustment meeting scheduled for Tuesday, October 18th, 2022 be approved.
All in favor? Perfect, thank you. That motion will be carried. Number 3, announcements. There's no announcements noted. Item number 4, declaration of pecuniary interest. Is there any declarations at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes.
Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the following minutes of the Municipality of Wawa Committee of Adjustment be adopted as presented. Minutes of a Committee of Adjustment meeting held on Tuesday, December 15, 2021, as contained on pages 1 to 3, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Carried. There's no old business, so we'll move on to new business. Item 7.1, approve the actions of the Secretary Treasurer.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that the Municipality of Wawa Committee of Adjustment does hereby approve the actions of the Secretary Treasurer with respect to the notification of the following applicant, A1/22, Mr. Guarino Trevorello, for a minor variance to the zoning bylaw number 2821-15, as amended, respecting 15 First Avenue, described as Plan M131, Lot 1017, Parcel 19, Mishpahcotton, in the Municipality of Wawa, to reduce the minimum distance from the rear and side yard setbacks from 1.2 meters to 0.9 meters, and to increase the maximum lot coverage from 10% to 15.5% to permit the property owner to construct an accessory building on the subject property.
All in favor? Carried as presented. Item 7.2, application for minor variance A1-22, Mr. Gino Trevorello.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll summarize quickly for council. Acting Mayor, excuse me. I'll summarize the report prepared by Kevin Sabrent on this application. It is for the addition of an accessory dwelling on the property. We require 3 variances to our zoning bylaw. Number 1, the minimum distance from the rear lot line would move from the required 1.2 meters to a proposed 0.9 meters. So basically allowing the rear yard to go from 4 feet to 3 feet. It's also requesting a variance to the minimum distance from the interior side lot line from 1.2 meters down to the proposed 0.9 meters. In addition, to add the accessory building, our zoning bylaw maximizes the maximum lot coverage at 10%, and this would go to a 15.5% lot coverage. According to the planning report provided by Kevin, the variance is minor, it's appropriate for the development of the land, and no one sent any comments from any external agency and no objections were received. After review of the application, it's recommended that it be approved subject to the following conditions. It only applies to the new proposed garage as shown on the approved drawings attached to the notice. The storage building shall not be used for human habitation or occupation for gain, and that the owner applicant provide to the building department a copy of the decision of the committee adjustment together with a copy of any approved drawings when they make application for the building permit if this application is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maury. Is there any questions from council? Mr. Trevorello, do you have any comments or questions for council or staff? Yes, so just for those on the on Zoom or on YouTube, staff is indicating yes, that Mr. Trevorello has the option to enclose it. Great.
Madam Chair, I'd like to read the motion now.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Moved by Councillor Cannon, second by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the application number A1/22 submitted by Mr. Gino Trevorello for a minor variance to land described as Plan M131, Lot 1017, Parcel 19, Mishpacotton, in the municipality of Wawa, to reduce the minimum and side yard setbacks from 1.2 meters to 0.9 meters, and to increase the maximum lot coverage from 10% to 15.5%, to permit the property owner to construct an accessory building, a garage on the subject property located at 15 First Avenue, be and hereby is granted, conditional to the following. 1, that the approved variance applies to the proposed garage as shown on the approved drawings attached to the notice of decision. The accessory storage building shall not be used for human habitation or for occupation for gain. And the owner applicant shall provide the building permit with a copy of the decision together with the approved drawings when submitting their building permit application.
All in favor?
Okay, Mr. Trevorrow, there will be a 20-day appeal period, so after that time period, we will notify you that the period has expired, and then you can proceed with your development. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So with that said, the motion will be carried, and we can move on to item number, I guess, 8, which is adjournment. So we'll adjourn this meeting at 6:38.
Councillor Hatfield, resolve that the meeting adjourn at 6:38 p.m.
And if you want to just give us a couple minutes just to switch to the next meeting. Whenever you're ready, Kathy. So we will call the Corporate Planning Committee meeting to order at 6:39 p.m. and we'll note the members present, members of council, staff, and visitors in the gallery. We'll move on to item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. May I have a mover? Councillor Hatfield? No delegations or presentations tonight, so we'll move right along to the adoption of the minutes. May I have somebody move? Thank you. Councillor Chason. No business arising out of previous minutes, so we will go on to new business. 7.1, Local Government Week.
Thank you. So this week is Local Government Week across the province of Ontario. We did issue a notice or a press release, and it is contained on our website, just advising that this week is Local Government Week. And for those who may not know, we are the closest government to our community for which residents feel the most connected with. We have a lot of core functions that we provide to our community that impact the day-to-day life of our residents and the businesses. We deliver a wide range of services from maintaining roads, bridges, an on-demand transit system, water and sewer services, parklands, recreation, fire protection, emergency management, planning and land development, tourism, economic development, waste management, cemetery services, a community library, contract policing, which is provided by the Ontario Provincial Police. So what we're asking this week is that everyone in our community to please get involved with our local government by participating in various activities in the community, one being visit our local website, the WAWA website at wawa.cc, subscribing to the WAWA website's newsfeed, follow us on social media, especially our Facebook page, and we encourage everybody to please watch us on YouTube and please vote during the remainder of this voting period, which will end on Monday, October the 24th at 8 p.m. And if you're not on the voters list, please stop by at one of the voter help stations. We would be glad to make sure that your name is added to the list and give a PIN number to the individuals. In conjunction with Local Government Week, we took on a little contest, and we have two categories. And this contest was sent out to the local schools. So the first category is a thank you card, and we've asked kids to design a thank you card that we could give to a member of our staff or perhaps a member of council. And the card is just to identify what is important, what is the important work that these individuals do. And we will announce the winner at the November 1st council meeting. The second contest is a writing contest, and we're asking high school students to write a short little essay between 750 to 1,000 words, just exploring the different types of careers that are available within the municipality. And if they were to work for us, which job would they want? And tell us why they would want that position. And again, this is open to all high school kids. And the deadline for submissions is Friday, October 27th or 22nd. And we will choose the winner and announce the winner at the November 1st council meeting. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Kathy. Is there any questions from council? Thank you. We'll move on to item 7.2, the third quarterly financial report.
You. Oh, sorry, I think I wasn't being heard there. So the purpose of this report is to provide council with an update as of the third quarter, September 30th, of our financial condition. So really no major concerns. I did note some variances throughout the report. So the first one in the revenue section is having to do with administration. There's a bit of a variance there, and that's due to the timing of some of the revenues that we received. So specifically the OMPF grant, the fourth quarter of that grant, or the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund. Some reserves we're waiting on and some grant money that we're waiting on. Reserve transfers happen at the end of the year, so those won't be recognized until the fourth quarter. The fire department did better than what we expected and what we budgeted for. There was more call-outs this year so far than what we had expected. Building department has also exceeded the budget. It was I think probably a pretty progressive year for building in the community. There was a lot of people privately and I think some commercial activities, so it was good. Police Services Board, there is some variance there. Typically, this money is received at the end of the year in the form of a grant. Infrastructure Services, there was a small amount, I think it was just over $2,000 that exceeded the budgeted amount so far this year, and that's due to miscellaneous revenues that were collected. Airport, there was a significant increase here. So the budgeted amount was $302,000 below what was expected. We've spoken about this in the previous 2 quarters. It's due to the fuel sales. So partially because the airport's a little busier, and more significantly because fuel prices have increased so drastically this year. Wawa Transit, that's a little bit of a good news. They've also exceeded their annual budget, and this is mostly because there's been an increased demand for the monthly bus passes. So that gives us a little bit of assurance that bus is being used, which is a good thing. The landfill, these revenues are a little bit lower than what we expected at 63%. We were expecting them to be a little bit higher, but they're still within an acceptable limit. They're only 8% below that 75% goal. Water and sewer, this is a timing issue. So even though it looks low, the last quarter, last 4 months, it's a little more than a quarter, won't actually be billed until January. So those revenues won't be reflected until later on. They will be shown on the financial statements as an adjustment, but the actual revenues will be seen in January. Special initiatives, this is the area where we recognize things such as the Hazardous Waste Day. So it looks low right now, but we did have an exceptional year this year. We had an exceptional Hazardous Waste Day, and we're expecting to possibly exceed that budget a little as well. The MMCC, I think I spoke about this previously. It's a reoccurring phenomenon. So I think, again, COVID was at the beginning of the year still affecting the MMCC, and then the majority of the arena revenues happen now in the 4th quarter. They'll be starting up. Tourism, this is a new department in some ways. Like the TIC falls in here. It's been closed for 2 years, so there are some estimates. And again, we did well. We exceeded the budget. Then when we look at the expenditures, the fire department, it seems that the expenses are low, but the honorariums happen once a year in the 4th quarter, so there'll be a significant increase in that 4th quarter. We'll catch up. Airport, so this is the other half of that. The revenues were at $302,000. The expenses are $182,000 more than what we expected, again, because of the prices of the fuel. The net effect is a good news story. We're still $120,000 to the good. So our net revenue from those fuel sales are $120,000 to the positive. The landfill, the variance in this area, and I think partly there's parks as well, was having to do with the way we decided to budget wages this year. So we budgeted the wages to the admin account rather than distributing them throughout all of the small areas. So like landfill, the wage there would just be a few $1,000s where there's a few $100,000 of wages. So rather, parks is a good example. There's just a few $1,000s of summer students. So it's hard to budget for those small amounts, and they just got lumped into one admin section. And so it shows a variance that isn't really a true variance, it's just a subcategory. So parks, as I mentioned, same thing. Planning and development, the expense here is carried over from the 1st and 2nd quarters. There's very little expenditure in this area other than those 2 quarters. Capital funds, also not a lot to say here. A lot will be shown in the 4th quarter when we wrap up with projects, get all our claims and start getting money back. In those big invoices come a lot of times in the 4th quarter as well. So even though we don't have a lot to report financially in that section till the 4th quarter, we can say, or we're happy and proud to say, that we did purchase a brand new tandem plow truck stander. I think it's ready to roll and probably on the roads already. So we upgraded the audio system here. I think also in the MMCC. The airport lighting upgrade has been done. We did some more sidewalk rehabilitation. We purchased some riding lawnmowers. We upgraded some computer hardware, and there's other projects that are still in the works, like the school zone, and I'm just drawing a blank on them right now. So, but there are some bigger projects. The water intake we've started. That was the big $3 million project. We weren't sure when we passed the budget whether or not we were going to get the funding, so good news story. We did get that funding. We're moving forward. And I think we have reserves in place to help us manage our portion of that project. So all in all, no big concerns. And the report is just for information purposes. So nothing to do there in the way of a resolution or other than accept the report. So that's it, unless anybody has any questions.
Counselor Hatfield?
Manuela, I happened to be in a small town when they gave their budget. And I must say I'm very proud of how you're staying on budget and all the people that are working, because it is, I find, a very excellent budget.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Counselor Shaso?
One question is the on the water end of it. When is the date of expectation to be finished? All that work done at the lake
On the work on which?
on the water project?
The water intake valve,
Yep.
the end of next year. And the grant money goes into next year as well.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Seeing no other questions or comments, thank you very much for the comprehensive report, Manuel. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any questions on Zoom? I don't want to forget that you're there.
No, I'm good. I'm listening. I've read my stuff, so we're on track.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And we'll move along to item 7.3, the schedule of fees edition.
So this is something at the community center that we've been working on in a couple different ways over the last couple years. So I'll try speaking a little further away, maybe. Closer? Okay. So we've got a whole set of lockers at the community center. And what we've noticed over the past couple years is there's lots of people who are interested in having a locker, but we don't have lockers available. So after COVID, we reviewed our locker listing and we found that there's a pile of folks who have a locker, but we haven't seen them at the community center for quite some time. I'm just going to try talking if that's okay. All right. So essentially what we're looking to do is implement a fee for use of the lockers to discourage people from grabbing a locker and then holding on to it for longer than they're actually using the community center. So what that looks like is very similar where people would have to come in and register their lockers, but instead of just registering and then walking away, they'd sign a usage agreement and we'd monitor it similar to on this. I was one of the ones who worked on this. We would monitor essentially that usage, just like we would monitor any fitness memberships, things like that. When the actual membership ran out, we'd have a 5-day sort of grace period for them to give us a call or us to contact them, see if they still needed it. And at the end, we'd remove their contents and make that locker available. I think a couple years ago, it was a lot easier because it was mostly curlers using the lockers and nobody else. But now that we've got a pretty big uptake in gym members and there's other folks looking for lockers, we want to give equal opportunity to anybody who's using the facility to use those lockers, including a bunch of new curlers who have come in who are looking for a locker and we don't have one for them. So this is a usage fee for both the locker as well as the rental of a lock, which would be just a deposit-based thing, very similar to the fobs for our recreation facility.
Thank you, Alex. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Councillor Hatfield?
How many lockers do you have? Approximately.
Let's say about 200,
Okay.
the top of my head.
Okay, so you're going to have enough for everybody then.
I hope so. Yeah, what we identified when we looked through the locker registration is probably 15% of the lockers. We hadn't seen those people in 3 or 4 years.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I got a comment.
Mr. Mayor?
I just let you know that like when my wife joined curling in the Sioux here, she the lockers in the locker are included in their registration, something like you're going to do now. So then you can have control over that.
Right, so this would, just to be clear, this would be a separate fee for lockers.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just talking about lockers, yeah. But it's included in the fee, whatever activity you joined. Just for comment.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. My only question, I think it's a great idea because I can understand your conundrum that you're having, is I feel like it's a short window to let people know. The 2-week turnaround time might be a little bit short, so maybe something to consider, maybe giving people a 30-day notice, just so we don't catch anybody off guard. But certainly up to you. But that was my only
Perfect.
comment.
Okay, yeah, you can see we've attached a locker agreement. That's something that we can change. So if it's more conducive to have 30 days, we wanted to set a time frame on it. The specific time doesn't matter as much to us. So if 30 days is more favorable, then we're happy to do that.
Excellent. Councillor Cannon?
But if you're attaching that locker agreement, then they'll know that they have the 2 weeks. So, I mean, you wouldn't have to give 30 days if they already know they have 2 weeks.
Mhm. I don't think we'd really go so far as to throw anybody's stuff out. Like when we've done this before, we've kept it, in a bag or something similar in the back for usually a month or so before we really dispose of things.
Awesome. Great. So I feel like there's no resolution for this. You're just looking for council's blessing, or?
It's an addition to the schedule of fees, so it's going to come up in the next meeting as a bylaw
Okay,
to modify that bylaw resolution, sorry.
excellent, okay. So we'll take care of that in the next meeting then. So no in-camera session, no business arising from closed session. So item number 10, the next meeting date will be Tuesday, November 1st. And we will look to adjourn this meeting at 6:57. Okay, so we'll just have a few seconds before we go into our regular council meeting. So I'd like to call this meeting to order and at 6:59 p.m. and note the members present, members of council, staff, and those in the gallery. Item number 2, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
Moved by Councillor Chason, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, October 18th, 2022 be approved as amended.
May I have somebody, all in favor? Perfect.
Madam Mayor, if I wouldn't, if it's okay with you, I'd like to just announce what that item is. It will be item 14.4. It's a legal matter, and it's related to the ADSAB apportionment.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So that motion will be carried. No delegations or presentations this evening, and announcements and giving of notice. Councillor Chason, go ahead.
I just want to let council and people know that the mural was unveiled on Saturday. And with great pleasure, I got to say, these kids put their heart into this mural. The colors are fantastic. So if you guys could get out there and see that, just thank them. They did an awesome job. Everybody involved did an awesome job, and it looks good. Thank you so much.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Councillor Station. There are six different announcements listed for information as well. Item number 6, adoption of minutes for the regular council meeting dated Tuesday, October 4th.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Chason. Resolved that the following minutes of a meeting of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, October 4th, 2022, as contained on pages 1 to 7, inclusive of the minute book.
All in favor? Thank you very much. That will be moved as presented. Item number 7, correspondence. We have 3 items for correspondence. Kathy, is there anything specifically that we want to touch on in the correspondence?
No.
No. So we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Moved by Councillor Chason, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that the items listed under the consent agenda, items 8.2 to 8.4, be approved as recommended.
All in favor? That motion will be approved as presented. And we will move on to staff reports, 9.1.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive staff report number MB 2022-07, third quarterly financial report, copy of which is attached here too.
All in favor? Excellent. That motion will be moved, approved as presented. Item 9.2.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby direct staff to amend the schedule of fees for 2022 and add the new fees for the locker rental at the Mishpachot Memorial Community Center as listed below. Locker $10 per month plus HST. Lock deposit, which is refundable, $10.
All in favor? Approved as presented. Item number 10, no business arising out of previous meetings. So we'll move on to new business. 11.1, adopt new fees. But we just did that. Okay, perfect. I'm catching up. I'm following along here. 12, notice of motion, none. So we'll move on to bylaws.
I'm not sure when I could ask Maury questions. I have no objection to any of the bylaws, but I wanted to ask you a couple of questions on one bylaw. Can I do that?
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to read the motion first, and then that just gets the bylaws onto the floor, and at that point, you can
Okay.
ask for comments or questions.
Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3539-22 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 18th day of November 2022. Bylaw number 3540-22 to establish a new health and safety section in the Wawa Policy Manual. Bylaw number 3541-22 to authorize the corporation municipality of Wawa to enter into a lease agreement with Wawa Electric and Hardware for the use of land located at the west side of 96 Broadway Avenue. Bylaw number 3542-22 to adopt municipality of Wawa policy number HR 028, electronic monitoring. Bylaw number 3543-22 to adopt municipality of Wawa health and safety policies. Bylaw number 3544-22 to amend bylaw 3328-20 and to establish the rental rate for the lease agreement with Labby Media Incorporated for the rental of 96 Broadway upper floor for a radio station.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I'm sure you could answer this more. There's two things that really got to me when we had our business, and that was WMIS training. Now, who does the WMIS training for the township?
We have online programs available to staff, and from time to time, Alex will provide the training, and when necessary, we'll bring in contact.
Okay. Is it still done once a year?
So WMIS right now updated to 2015 standards for the GHS, which is a global harmonized standard. So it removed the annual training requirement. It requires refresher training when new chemicals are present in the workplace on that specific chemical.
So how long are they good for?
So they're good indefinitely now, as long as staff get training on each new chemical present in the workplace and refresher training as required. So it doesn't actually put an annual standard on staff anymore.
Oh, that's good. And one problem I always had, and I don't know anything about what you guys do, but circle checks on our equipment and papers. Does everybody do that?
So we have books. So essentially each piece of equipment comes with its own two-sided checklist. So the first side is posted on like typically a bulletin board and is kept as a record for a year. And then the second side stays with the piece of equipment. So all larger pieces of equipment, all like all of the trucks and stuff like that, they all have a circle check book that's specific to that piece of equipment that has a checklist of things for staff to review
Oh,
whenever they enter the vehicle. So sometimes it could be more than once a day, depending on if there's multiple operators coming in.
that's good to hear. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, perfect. All in favor? Great, then the motion will be approved as presented. So item number 14, closed session.
Bring this down. Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hatfield, resolved that this committee proceed in camera at 7:08 PM in order to address the following matters pertaining to: one, a legal issue, an application under Section 357 of the Municipal Act, and it's related to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Two, a legal issue, one item, Bucks Marina, and it's related to the security of the property of the municipality or local board. And the third item is the ad sub apportionment model, and it's advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
So do we close this meeting now? No? Wait, it's to move into camera?
Move in camera. And if I may clarify, the issue related to Bucks Marina is actually just the marina, not the marina business.
So we're moving into,
I will help in a second.
okay. Pardon? All in favor? To go on camera? Okay.
Yes.
Ooh, I really need the prompting there.
I figured the camera out. Just turn it on.
Just bear with me, I'm just trying to get back in.
Morning, O'Neill.
You're still muted.
No, he's got, change whatever Alex changed on the speaker.
I can hear you now.
You can hear us now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Perfect.
And you are right, you have to use the mics.
Great. So Kathy, please remind me, do I have to reopen or can I just jump in?
So we are now returning to the open session, and it is 7:50 PM.
7 p.m. So we are now at business arising from closed session.
Yes. And we do have a motion. Can open the doors.
Item 15.1.
We just have to open the doors first.
Okay, perfect. We're just opening the doors, Mr. Mayor. Perfect. So item 15.1, accept staff recommendation, application under section 357 of the Municipal Act.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Cannon. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation Municipality of Wawa does hereby accept the staff recommendation as contained in Report MB 2022-06 and approve the applications made for reduction, cancellation, or refund of taxes in accordance with Section 357 of the Municipal Act as amended, and the correspondent impact response for the properties listed below. Roll number 5776 000 001 044 00 0000 70 Broadway Avenue from the period of January 10th, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. Roll number 5776 000 006 22300 0000 24 Klondike Street for the period June 4th, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. And thirdly, roll number 5776 000 006 22300 0000 24 Klondike Street for the period from January 1, 2022 to June 1st, 2022.
All in favor? Motion approved. Next meeting date is Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. Adjournment.
Moved by Councillor Cannon, seconded by Councillor Hatfield. Resolved that the meeting close at 7:53 PM.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Night, everyone.